if we need to pray more now than ever, and that's what I see other people saying. There's something I've lived by. There's a couple of phrases that I've lived by in my life. I haven't been raised on the Bible, and I don't know the Bible, but I knew some things because I either picked up a plaque in a thrift store or I had seen it written. And sometimes I've seen things and I've remembered them wrongly, but they've worked for me. If God be for us, who can be against us? I've used that and I've lived by that. And with God, all things are possible. And that's something that I've lived by. And even though it doesn't look as if things came easy for me in life, I have kept that. I've kept that in my heart, and I've lived close to that. With God, all things are possible. And if God brings you somewhere, he'll give you what you need to sustain you there. I wrote a few notes down today. I wrote that we know God works by the witness of others, and that's how prayer works for me. Prayer and faith and trust have built in me because of the experience of others and the way that other people have had success with it in their lives, and they've shared it with me, and that's the only way that I know that it works. I can't just see something written somewhere and buy into it. I need to see the demonstration of it and see that it works in order to believe it. And that's how prayer has been for me. I've been working with God on a daily basis for 29 years now, where I've had somewhat of a conscious connection with a higher power, with God, as I see God. And this morning, my head was everywhere but in today. I was thinking about a lot of other things, and I was really, really far away in my head. And that's a great way to lose contact with God. That's a way to get lost and break the connection that I have with God. I need to have a conscious contact with God on a minute-to-minute basis throughout my day in order to have a better day. And let alone I need to have it on a daily basis, but if I have it throughout the day, it helps me. And there's times when I get really complicated in my own brain and I start thinking about things and I get caught up in things that I would like to be, the way I would like something to be or would have liked it to go. And then I lose my connection and I don't feel as settled in my heart or in my brain if I don't have that connection with God. Excuse me. I'm going to talk about a couple of products first. I'm going to act as if somebody's sponsoring me because maybe one day somebody will be, which would be really good. In my water, I've got hydrolyzed collagen. And I just saw a video recently from Dr. Josh Axe. He talked about collagen loading. And I believe that that's actually what completed the healing and is completing the healing in my gut. And that would mean that any leakiness that I had in my gut that was leaking over into my heart or into my brain, which is the breakdown of tissues around the heart or by the brain, the same thing that happens in the gut lining, those will begin to heal as well. And I increased my collagen from 2 teaspoons a day to more like 2 tablespoons or 3 tablespoons per day. And it turns out our bodies are comprised mostly of collagen proteins, not the type of proteins that we always thought that we needed. So building up collagen in the body is a really good thing. Tea tree oil. I'm going to be continue talking about the cavity and the cracked tooth that I had that have been healing for the past couple of years. I cracked a tooth somewhere in 2014. It was May, I think, and the tooth cracked laterally up and down. And it was a severe crack. The whole inside section of the tooth came off. And I went on a system of trying to work to have it heal on its own. And in the process, a cavity began to heal. Lately, this was a 20-year-old cavity that I had on the bottom side of this in the back of my mouth here, the largest tooth in the back. That has been healing fine, and I want to continue to make videos and take pictures of it. But an infection or the root of that tooth was so infected or damaged that as the cavity was growing out and coming off, the decayed, infected root part had been growing to the outside as well, and it hurt. And that tooth was really scaring me underneath it. The gum was very scaring me. And I had used some hydrogen peroxide food grade diluted in water. I used that on it. I used some Miracle Mineral solution, and I even took out black salve and I dabbed some. It had a well of an opening of the gum tissue next to the tooth. It had been opened like a well, and I had started treating it with black salve inside that well, and that seemed to help very, very much. And in fact, there may have been some cancer back in underneath the back of that tooth, because some of the tissue in the back of my mouth responded and became white, and it ate out some pieces in there that would be cancerous, because black salve acts on cancer. It doesn't harm the body. And so that worked really well. Well, then I saw a video talking about using this 3-part system of rinsing and swishing with the sea salt water, followed up by using baking soda in a paste and flicking with a toothbrush, brushing the gums and the teeth in a flicking motion with a toothbrush in that solution. And after that, rinsing the mouth and then dabbing on with a Q-tip, dabbing some tea tree oil on the gum line. And so I did that. I didn't do the first 2 steps. I just used the tea tree in that well part that was open next to the tooth. And that thing started to seal and heal like immediately, really, really quickly. And I'll speak about that in its own video another time at my main channel. But tea tree oil is a fantastic thing, and I like it. And I'll talk about something maybe at the end of this video, how I raised my pH really easily and very, very easily and quickly with something else. Anyway, about prayer and praying, it works for me so well. And on a daily basis, I would love to share by way of video with you something about it. And all I can think to say is that it works, and please pray, and it works, and it works. I can't think of anything substantial, so I'm going to read something to you. Okay, I have a daily reader. I've had a few different daily readers in my time. This one I've used consistently for the past 29 years. That's why it's broken. October 1st, the meditation for the day is in very small print. I'm going to read that to you. Okay. Because it has to do with this, of course. Look to God for the true... Okay, wait. Start over. Look to God for the true power that will make you effective. See no other wholly dependable supply of strength. That is the secret of a truly effective life, and you in turn will be used to help many others find effectiveness. Whatever spiritual help you need, whatever spiritual help you desire for others, look to God. Seek that God's will be done in your life, and seek that your will conforms to His. Failures come from depending too much on your own strength. I have to keep continuing to depend on God's strength in order to have success in my life. That's what I take from that. It says, I pray that I may feel that nothing good is too much for me if I look to God for help. I pray that I may be effective through His guidance. Effective and success. To me, those are important to me. I wanted to be an example and what is that word? I wanted to be a witness and an example of how God has worked in my life. There is no reason that I should be doing what you're seeing me doing right now. There isn't any reason that I should have a website that is as fantastic as my website is. I just need more people to see it. So if you don't mind taking a look in the description of this video and my other videos, you'll always find a link to Your Health and Tech Friend. It's an internet magazine. And I taught myself how to code in HTML and the different coding languages and scripting languages in order to build this website. And that's been through the use of prayer on a daily basis, one day at a time, praying and asking God for help to do these things. Just before I sat down to make this video, I kneeled down and I said a prayer, as I frequently do before I make a video, and it helps me. If God be for us, who can be against us? I haven't had any Bible study. I wrote these things down. I have, yeah. I don't want to just read this. I haven't had Bible studying. I haven't studied the Bible. I have practical experience that prayer works, and simple prayer. because I only knew a few basic prayers. I was raised Catholic, basically Catholic for a short while. I didn't have a lot of, my family sort of fizzled out on going to church when I was in like fourth grade. And after fourth grade, I went to a public school. So I missed having a more formal education in the Catholic school or in the Catholic church. But that was my foundation. So I knew the Lord's Prayer, the Our Father. I knew the Our Father and those basic prayers, and that's how I began. And simple prayers on the spot, like when you're doing the dishes, when you're doing your work, when you're doing laundry, like one is called the Serenity Prayer. And that's helped me a great deal. It's God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And there's a longer version of that prayer that is really nice, and I would like to learn that. I think it would be a good prayer to learn in its entirety. I complicate things. I wrote down I can complicate things like crazy. I look back at some of my web pages that I coded, and as I was learning it, I taught myself. But I struggled. I struggled a great deal, and every day, any time that I'm struggling, it's because I'm depending on my own power. Just as that reading said, if I'm not being effective, it's because I'm depending on my own fuel, my own thought thinking to get things done right. And the more I keep turning that over, the more I keep asking God for help, the better I do, and the more effective I am, and the more success I have. There's one thing I do every morning. I've begun a longer series of prayer every morning. I'm sitting in this chair, and I read that book, and then I read another book, and I read a passage out of another book, and then I take out my rosary and my rosary meditations, and that's a time for prayer with meditation. I'm reciting the Lord's Prayer and the couple of other prayers, the Hail Mary and the Glory Be, and I'm reciting those, and then you repeat the Hail Mary 10 times. And during those, I'm reading small passages out of a book that teaches me the Psalms and things from the Bible. It's a small book that I had that maybe Mother Teresa had written it. I have the basic outline. I wanted to show you these tools that I have. This is the Rosary prayer guide, and it's torn apart, and it's because I say it daily. I was saying a couple prayers, and on this thing, along with this booklet, this larger booklet is called the Pieta Prayer Book. The cover is torn off. That one has some really good prayers, standard Catholic prayers in them that are really old and long-standing prayers. It has the Apostles' Creed, the Our Father, the Hail Mary, the Glory Be, the standard prayers you would need to say a rosary. Now, this book had been covered, a nice cover. I think it was by Mother Teresa, a foreword by her, but they're meditations for the mysteries of the rosary. And on these pages, I went through some very, very hard times in the past several years, since 2014, specifically through 2014, 15, and 16. Things were really, really hard for me on a day-to-day basis. Staying in the moment was really important to me, and prayer was important to me. I prayed every morning. I prayed the rosary. Well, I also wrote notes in the margins of this booklet. And some of them, one note that I wrote was, I needed to know that I was doing the right thing. And I wrote, I'm doing the right thing, because I needed to get strength from God, from my prayer, and I needed to get direction. Look at this. Take care of me and my concerns, and I will take care of you and your concerns. If you find your delight in the Lord, He will grant you your heart's desire. That's from, these are the quote, the italics parts are from the Bible. They're parts taken right out of the Bible. I wrote, spiritual always comes before the material. If you're working on the internet, anyone who works in a new business or creates a business knows that the money isn't going to come first, and may not come for a while. And if you really need the money to come, then it's really hard to stay in there and stay in the game. And that's what happened for me. I knew that I was on the right track. I had a big feeling that I was on the right track with my business, but it was hard to stay in, and because of pressures from the outside. You have a demand for money, you have a need to places to put money, you have bills, mounting pressure, and it's hard to stay in. And I know that's a spiritual, if you fix the spiritual, the physical and the material will follow. It never goes the other way. It always comes, the spiritual has to grow first, and then the material will follow. And I used to see it as a light at the end of the tunnel. The light was really, really massively far away, like a football field's length away. I knew that it was that far, you know. And then I started to see it shortening up. The distance was getting shorter and shorter. And eventually, the space between myself and my kitchen door looking that way, at one point in time, I said to myself, I see the light. I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's there. I could actually see it, you know. It's like from where you're sitting to when you're taking an eye exam, the eye chart, that far away, I saw the light. And slowly over the days and months to come, I saw the light getting closer and getting closer. And that's how all of our problems get solved. Every problem and every issue in life has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I saw that with my work on the internet. I wrote in here that there were very dark days, and then the light came on. This is tattered and worn because I've used it so much. This is through a couple of years, and it's my second booklet. I had another one like this. I'm going to read from here. Even when you feel distracted, desolate, and restless, the mere fact that you put your faith into, okay, I'm sorry because it's a little fuzzy. Okay, the mere fact that you put your faith into practice by taking time out and choosing to visit him brings, I think I need to make it easier on you and me. Even when you feel distracted, desolate, and restless, the mere fact that you put your faith into practice by taking time out and choosing to visit him brings indescribable delight to his sacred heart. And this is specifically about visiting Jesus in the Eucharist, which is in the host on the altar in the Catholic Church. This is a lot about talking about the Eucharist and how important it is. I wrote over here, I know the difference between, what is this going to say? I know the difference between right and wrong today. That was very important to me because when I was growing up and as I was growing in age through my 20s and 30s, I never knew if I was doing the right thing or the wrong thing. And for a lot of years, I did the wrong thing. I followed the wrong path. And today it says there, if you follow, take care of me and my concerns, Jesus says, and I'll take care of you and your concerns. That's huge. That means look after what he says. If he says feed his sheep, that means help people. You know, try to do the next right things that you know in life, and he will sustain you and me. And another thing I always thought, I wrote up here, God, Jesus is protecting us, because I went through a place in life where when I first started praying, I prayed to God. I didn't understand the connection with Jesus. That was something that grew and developed through my rosary meditations. And some people will slam the rosary. You know, they think it's repetitious prayers, but it really isn't. It's meditative prayers. And through the rosary is how I learned about Jesus. So I transitioned from calling God to calling him Jesus, and to really feeling it. You know, I never understood people that used to speak about the Lord and Jesus and this and that, and I thought that they were just fanatics. But now I understand the real connection between our hearts and Jesus. I wrote here, the right way to care for anyone. I don't know what I'm going to read here. I better read it first. Oh, I had to take care of myself and my own concerns before I was going to be able to take care of anyone else. And that I wrote down because I started to help others, and I ended up hurting myself. I was helping others to the extent that I was running so much and having so much anxiety that I got very, very sick. I actually got cancer. And I wanted to talk to that lately, speak to that at the ages of about 51 to 55 years old, 54, 55, 56, those are the ages where we start to lose so much hydrochloric acid in our stomachs, and we start to lose so many more minerals and the protection that we have that protects our immune system, that is when disease will strike. And it'll strike me where my Achilles heel is, and it'll strike you where your Achilles heel is. And for myself, at the age of like 57, I think it was, I got cancer on a spot that was on my side. There was a mole there that had been there all my life for a long, long time, had done nothing, used to come out larger, and then it would get smaller, it would recede, but the color of it was always normal and healthy, like pink, healthy flesh color. And it turned ugly, and it got raised, and it got changed, transitioned. It passed the 5 signs of skin cancer, and I got skin cancer, which is very dangerous. And that happened after having a great deal of stress in the end of 2013 and into 2014, and that was when I got skin cancer. What happened for my husband, it was so many years later, because he's 5 years younger than I am. When he was 56 years old, we had just gotten our 2 dogs, Patty and Sally. We had them for a day, and Sally got away. She ran away. She got out of the gate. And that was such a stressful event for him, where his Achilles heel was. That is what I just saw a video yesterday from Dr. Eric Berg, that a virus will come out of remission that is dormant with the onset of stress, because stress has to do with the calcium connection. And that's what happened for him. His Achilles heel was the chickenpox virus that had been laying dormant in his body, and he developed shingles after the dog got lost. It grabbed him, and it gets full blown, and that's a whole nother story. But tomorrow I'm going to make a video today that I'm going to post to my YouTube channel, my main channel, tomorrow at 10 o'clock or so, about calcium. Calcium I have a note to talk to you about that. Calcium is very dangerous. It isn't something to play around with, and it certainly isn't anything to supplement with. And I'm going to talk about that. It'll be at my video tomorrow. So the right way to care for people is when you can take care of yourself. That was my point about that. I can do all things through Christ Jesus who strengthens me. I wrote that at the top there. And there's a lot of really good meditations in this book. Maybe I'll give you a link to this book in the description below, because it'll teach you a lot about the Bible. It has quotes from there. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. That's big to me, because if I don't get it and I don't know how the answer is going to come, I can't always stand behind it, and I can't always stay in the game. And that would be like with my website and with my YouTube channels. How am I going to stay in here if I have to rely on my own understanding? And maybe, let's see, if another one of these. Grace enfolds the man who trusts in God. God has called you, and he will not fail you. Dismiss all your anxiety from your minds. The Lord is near. Those are all from the Bible. Grace enfolds. Now, grace is a gift, okay? Grace is gifts given by God that are unearned. You don't have to merit them. They're gifts. And gifts come with grace. And it says you get grace by leaning and trusting in God. So it's the way through that this is connected with something else that I wanted to talk about. There's a book that my husband is reading, and he brought it with him to work, where I was going to grab it and tell you about something from it. But all I'll do is tell you about something from it. I don't have the book to cite. It's a section in this book talks about how God heals. And I said I was wondering about that. He read it to me the other day. And I knew part of the equation of how God heals. Have you ever talked to anyone, and certainly you've done this maybe yourself, you pray to God to heal somebody or to change something for yourself and make it better, and it just doesn't work, and you don't know why, because everybody says God can heal, Jesus heals. Why doesn't it happen? It's a 2-part to how God heals. The one part I knew, it's faith. You got to have faith, and I don't want to say trust even. You just have to have faith that he will heal. And the other part is obedience. And I should have figured on that one. It's by obedience to God, and to God's design or for your life. And there was a thing put in there. There was I wanted to say a codicil. There was a little thing in there that if you don't know what is God's will, and you're not doing that, it's not going to be held against you. If you don't understand what God's will is, or if you don't know the difference yet in between what is right and what is wrong, and you truly don't know, that isn't included in this package. It's following and being obedient to what you believe is God's will for you, at least for you in your life. Following the directions and having faith. And I did experience healing, and I will talk about that in another video. And I saw other healings for myself and my family members not too long ago. And I want to talk about that in its own video to give it its own space. And with that, I'm going to tell you peace, Buttercups. Check out my other channels. Thank you. Bye-bye. I pray for all of you. Please pray for me. And I mean this is it.